Presenting ourselves a living sacrifice. This is Two Blind Crew. Yeah. Two Blind Crew. Two Blind Crew.
Daddy, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, presenting yourselves a living sacrifice. This is Two Blind Crew. How do you do? I am Jeff.
And I'm Greg. How's everybody?
We is happy you are here. We got him back. We got him back out of retirement. At least
Yeah,
seems
it's
like
been
you
a while.
retired.
I've got a little hello, my name is Greg thing on. You just can't see it.
Oh, really? Do you really?
Sorry. Yeah,
We're like reintroducing you to the audience.
I'm a guest star. That's why I get the extra pay today.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we're doubling his pay.
Yeah,
All the way up
great.
to what is it now?
I've got some warm coffee this time instead of cold. That's what happens when you're the guest.
There you go. That's right. I remember some comedian a long time ago who said something about just talking about people becoming successful, and he's like, my buddy Tommy said that his daddy left him $1 million, and he doubled it, and now he's got $2 million today. I said, man, that's nothing. My daddy left me nothing. Today I got 10 times that.
Man, you are so lucky. Oh, gosh. It's been one of those days already over here. I've been thinking, and that's kind of scary because I asked Kim, I said, should I wear this baseball hat? It's got a dog on it. And she said, yeah. And I said, that's my doggone hat. And so that led me into another thought about something that God, I'll never forget. And I don't know, you may be too young for this, but in the day,
I'm sure I am.
in the 80s, yeah, you probably don't remember it, but there was a craze to get these little stickers that says baby on board.
Yeah, the little caution signs.
Yeah, the little caution signs. Well, I had a buddy, his name was Jeff as well, that probably ought to show me something. He was pretty creative, so he got a baby doll and tied it to a piece of lumber.
Oh, no.
And put it on the back of his wife's car because it was a real baby on a board. It was. It was classic.
I guess I'm a little slow after my 2 cups of coffee. I haven't kicked in
Yeah.
yet. Baby on board. That is pretty clever.
It was pretty funny. But anyway, so what are we doing today? We want to be sacrificial in the way we live. Is that a
Well, I just was been pondering Romans chapter 12 that we were to present ourselves a living sacrifice,
does that
holy,
scare you?
acceptable unto the Lord. I'm sorry, what?
Does that scare you?
What? Well, I mean, yeah, well, it conjures up Aztecian, Mayan human sacrifice, but of course that is not what the Lord is talking about because clearly human sacrifice is unacceptable and not what Paul was talking about. But you always kind of contemplate what that means, and I was looking at taking it back to the original Hebrew and sacrifice. What do you think of when somebody says sacrifice? What does that mean to you?
Me, I think of it's just going to hurt, or it's going to require my entire life, or I'm going to have to give something that I really don't want to, giving away.
Yeah, it kind of, to me, always brought up this image of giving up something and giving away and me becoming less or being entered into the debit column while God or whoever I'm sacrificing myself to, whether it's, the God relationship or, a husband-wife relationship, you think of it as, them getting the credit and you getting the debit. Is
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of what I always conjured up in my mind, clearly incorrectly, as you might imagine by now. But that word sacrifice is actually pretty neat. Let me tell you one story before we go anywhere. I guess this is before, at least my family was ever aware of the whole prosperity gospel thing. This had to be about 1990. I was heading off to Bible college, 90-91 school year. And my mom, God bless and rest her soul, and she never did talk like how I'm going to portray her, but you have to do some sort of a voice. But she was so concerned for her baby boy. She said something to the effect of, "Why do you want to do that?" Like, we lived up north, and I don't know, the southern voice comes out. So why in the world do you want to do that? You can't do that. How will you survive? How will you feed yourself? How will you provide? And you're not going to be able to afford nothing. Blah blah blah. And thankfully, it was one time I didn't listen to her, and uh, and she was wrong. So yeah, that was kind of the sacrifice that I had in mind. I was giving up everything. But the
Right.
word in Hebrew, and I know what you're saying. Well, wait a minute. The New Testament's written in Greek. Nope. It's translated into the Greek in the Septuagint. That's another story from another time. But when you trace it back to Aramaic and Hebrew, the word is korban. And korban, as all Hebrew words are, they have many definitions depending on context. But this refers more to a lifting up or a drawing near. So the idea Paul is trying to convey is that as we present ourselves a living korban, so we're alive, we have our life, we're not giving that up, but as we live our lives, we're to lift up and draw near people to God and to the Messiah and how we live. People always say, well, I just, my life is a testimony how I live. And some people kind of say, well, that's not enough, or that's not whatever, or that's, you still got to
Yeah.
gospel. And you do, you need to verbalize things as God gives you opportunity. But this kind of harkens to a fairly recent episode we did talking about the ark, how it's supposed to be pure gold on the inside and on the outside, and present ourselves in a way that, hey, those guys are a little strange, but man, they're happy and they got something that we don't, and it draws them nearer to find out what that is. So that's kind of the message today.
Yeah. It's you worry about that when you're just starting into this Christian philosophy, theology, whatever way you want to kind of think of it. But and you read those texts, and then I don't know, it's not something that you really end up doing consciously after a point in time. I think that God talks in 2 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 12, about all the spiritual gifts that people have. So the thing that kind of surprised me is how, as I continued to learn and hung out at church and made myself available, that the way I ended up serving and making myself sacrifice was really not all that far out of the realm of what I really liked doing. And that made it a whole lot more fun, was to be able to serve people and help and do the things that I did, teaching and giving back. It wasn't really a sacrifice after all. I don't know if that makes any weird sense or not, but
Actually, it makes perfect sense. You know what? That ties into what we were talking about on our pre-recording conversation on the phone. Ties into Exodus 25, the first. I'm going to say it's the first, and someone will look it up and try to prove me wrong, and they'll probably be right. But the first that I can recall corporate offering that God asked of the people. He had, asked for sacrifices and korban from individuals like Abraham and Isaac and so on. But this is the first corporate offering I can think of, and it was taking up the offering to build the tabernacle. It was Exodus chapter 25, verses 1 through 8.
right,
And God lists, and go to the people and ask of them who will, with a willing heart, really paraphrasing here, to bring me to gold and silver and acacia wood and this kind of linen and this kind of fabric and this kind of dye and so on and so forth. And we look at that and we automatically think of, sacrifice, giving up something for something else. But the reality,
right,
everything God asked for, he had already given to them in Egypt before they left. He wasn't
right,
asking them to put offerings on credit cards. He wasn't asking them to give based upon future promises. He would say, hey, I already gave you this stuff, but even so, only for those who are willing, I need this for this purpose. And so, yeah, so it makes perfect sense that you found that the things that you were doing and operating in was things God already put inside of you.
Yeah, it's, in the mainstream church, and basically all the churches that are outwardly focused instead of, just worrying about what's going on inside. You see that, everybody has their thing. Some people love to meet people at the door. Some people love to work the soup kitchen. Some people like to drive people around and from to doctors' offices, etc., or bring them to church, just whatever. But some people like to preach. Some people like to clean toilets. I mean, it's amazing how God equips us and puts us in a place that you have the opportunity to help somebody in some of the weirdest situations, and just being willing to be used like that. And there's so many things in my life, and I'm not tooting my own horn by any stretch, don't get this, but I hear it all the time, and sometimes I just don't understand it. Is that, man, you're a real blessing to me to see how you do this and you do that with no vision, or all the struggles you've had, or whatever. And I don't understand it. I don't get, because that's, I just do things because that's what you have to do to. You're in the same boat. You understand this. You go on and you do stuff, and you're equipped for it, and you have the gifts for it, and you have the heart to do ministry type stuff. And basically, if just being willing to listen and lend an ear to somebody when they need some help, and offer them a way out of certain situations. It's just part of life. It's not something that you do in order to gain that respect. And there was that scripture text, I think it was in Luke maybe, where the rich guy came in and gave his offering, and made sure everybody saw his sacrifice. I'm giving all this money. Went out and got another job so that I could earn more money, so I could be more prominent. And then the lady that had the least in the church still gave, because she wanted to, not because it was commanded of her, even though it is. But it's just, you do these things because your heart is geared that way and you want to help. And some people see that and they go, wow, why is he so stinking happy with what he's got going on? So I think that's the sacrifice part. What did you do now? Did you fall off?
You zigged when I thought you were going to zag. You said, man, he's so stinking. I thought the next word was going to be stupid. And by the way, this is a great place for a random blind man moment.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be blind men. I cannot believe you talked me into that.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we thought it'd be kind of fun to put a little random blind man moments and just no particular.
Maybe we'll do like they did on WKRP and all these shows. After a while, we'll put little snippets from all these songs, and the person that guesses the order of these stupid songs we come up with will win something.
Well, the funny thing is too, it's kind of like the Bitcoin mining. Everyone's trying to hunt for these Bitcoins, and that's hard and it's expensive. But you know what? We decided, instead of Bitcoin mining, we're going to encourage our audience to mine for these random blind man moments. I think we should make it a regular part of the program, and it kind of forces you to listen if you're on the podcast, or watch if you're on YouTube, or quite frankly, if you're blind like us, and you also will listen on YouTube and find these little nuggets, these little gems. We'll call it.
I wouldn't go that far.
Sometimes, seriously, I thought you were going to say, so stinking stupid. I thought you were going to say stupid instead of what you said. That's why I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, man.
Well, that's fun.
Anyway.
Man.
Well, there you go.
It's been fun. I think we should continue this next time.
Yeah, why not?
Go a little deeper. And
we're so stinking, what? Smart?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you're not already a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. A little card thingy will be popping up here momentarily.
It's right there.
Right there? Wait.
That's what they tell me all the time.
Is it over there?
It's just right there, Greg.
All right, well, if you're impaired like us, get someone to help you and subscribe to this program. Make sure you stop by the website, Two Blind Crew. We promise one of these days we'll update it.
Yes.
And until next time, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Bless you.